YouTube! What the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage back. Yes, once again in Total War Rome 2. I'm having some fun, obviously, because I keep coming back night after night this week to get you some online battle, and you all seem to be enjoying watching it. Real positive response going on right now. I do miss these, and I hope you all know that I never quit liking the online battles. It just got really hard for me to find them for a while. Rome 2 has always held a larger multiplayer population, it seems like, than Attila, but it was difficult to find a match, even here. But the news of the patch seems to have maybe reawakened some love of the game, and it's really quite impressive. And I feel like that and it may not ever be as popular, because I think this time period really appeals to most. I think if they would keep patching Attila, it would breathe as much life into it as possible too. I think they've been a little slow with their patchwork on it, and as far as responses and maybe interaction with the community. We've gotten some decent DLC. I mean, the Belisarius DLC was pretty fun. And most people seemed fairly happy with some of the stuff it added. But yeah, it seems to kind of be falling flat on its face right now, which is too bad. Not from a campaign standpoint. I think Attila is rocking it from a campaign standpoint. Anyway, multiplayer. Let's go have some fun. So I jumped into a match with a guy. It was a 1 versus 1 this time on the Garama Desert. And when I came in, his faction was Rome, and mine had previously been set to Massilia from the last fight. So I switch over to the Nervii, thinking I'm going to be playing against Rome. And it's like, well, that'll still be a pretty good challenge. The Nervii are barbarian faction. They're pretty good, but they're not as strong as, say, the Boii or Tylus. And I was like, so this will be fun. But then my opponent switches over to Pontus. And I was like, ooh. It's like I got a lot of low... I mean, like, so the number one strength of the Nervii is mid-tier cav and mid-tier infantry, neither of which have a particularly good missile block chance, and Pontus can throw some missiles at you. They've got, I want to say they have Eastern Archers, Eastern Slingers, they have Pontic Peltist, which are expensive but potentially pretty dangerous, Horse Archers. They can put a pretty serious missile shower on you. So yeah, they can be basically bathing you with missiles. Giving you that fresh scent that only comes with multiple holes poked in your body from said missiles. So Pontus, first of all, has one unit that scares me immensely, and it's a scythe chariot. There's only one way I'm going to kill this thing in this battle, and it's if I get very lucky and manage to javelin it to death with precursors. Otherwise, it is capable of wrecking pretty much my whole army, because I didn't bring any super heavy cav. So it can run amok all over me if it wants. He's got 5 Eastern Slingers, which is a huge danger to me. Now, I feel like where the Pontic player here makes a mistake is bringing Bronze Shield Pikemen. This is a weakness in his army, one that I need to exploit. The difficulty is going to be getting past 4 Cappadocian Cav while only using Mighty Horse and Germanic Scouts. Now these Germanic Scouts, though, are extremely useful, and my opponent, I feel like, so let me just kind of slow down here. This is a pretty long battle, it'll be fun. I felt like on this flank my opponent made a huge mistake. He shifts all his Horse Archers to one flank rather than splitting them and being more annoying. I bring Slingers and he starts to pull back over here, but it leaves this flank completely open to harassment from my Germanic Scout Riders, and right now I am just eating away at the hit points and health and everything else of this Cappadocian cavalry. Because it's chasing my Scout Riders and it has no prayer of catching them. This is not Attila. There's very few scenarios in which this Cappadocian cavalry catches my Germanic Scouts. Let me cover the rest of my army. I've got 4 Mighty Horse, 2 on each flank. I've got 5 Celtic Slingers, which are markedly inferior to his Eastern Slingers. I've got 4 Fierce Swords, which are great on the attack, but as you can see, these guys don't wear shirts, and they've got a small wooden shield there. They are not particularly good versus missiles, which my opponent is fielding in abundance. And then I've got these 2 Oathsworn, but those things would be easily answered by these chariots. So in my mind, I see my opponent's army and I'm like, checkmate. I don't see how this is going to work out, but one thing I like to do is never give up on a fight, even if it's hopeless. So despite the fact that I feel pretty outpicked here, my opponent still has to use his army successfully. And what I'm going to do my best to do is try and force him into mistakes that will take his, what I consider to be an army advantage, and turn it into a disadvantage. Now, like I said, he does have one weakness, and it's that he really has no infantry line. But if I come up trying to outflank his pikes, I'm going to get shot by every direction. Horse Archers, Slingers, chariots would be coming in, so it would typically be easy for me to just overpower his pikes with infantry, but it's not going to happen. Now, if I spend all my ammo on his pikemen, what have I done? Well, now there's no infantry for my swords to kill, and I've spent ammunition, which is going to be badly needed for his horse archers or potentially his chariots, though killing chariots with Celtic slingers would be difficult at best. But I mean, you can see the predicament that I'm in here. I have to make something happen, and it's not going to be easy. Oh, I've got 2 Spear Brothers and a Levy Freeman. So yeah, I've got 1 Levy Freeman here, and then the Spear Brothers here, and then another Spear Brothers on the other flank. Now, Spear Brothers do have cavalry counter tactics, and they can be pretty helpful. Now, over here is kind of a weird scenario where the unit flag on my guys kind of get caught. And over here, I got hit by slingers. That's why this unit died. But this unit over here is just, you know, kind of harassing the Cappadocian Cav. It hasn't been great. This unit actually lost 10 men from the Scout Riders. But, I mean, this also gets the Cappadocian Cavalry tired, as you can see. They get quite tired doing all this chasing, whereas my Scout Riders are still only active, and they're very quick. So I can continue to just pull away. And at this point, now my Mighty Horse can come back here and ambush this singled-out Cappadocian Cavalry. This unit comes back from routing, and I'm going to move it in and pitch what javelins are left into his side chariots, just trying to cause damage. And right now I'm hoping that he's going to use his slingers against my spearmen, or just something that's not going to be particularly high value. That's what I want him to do. Over here, my slingers are doing a little gang-up fire on his eastern slingers, but it's not going to be a particularly good situation for me. He's going to swing around me with Cappadocian Cav to threaten my slingers. Great move. If he does it right, so this has got me scared. I'm going to use my Levy MLG men to chase him off here. See if I get a javelin volley. I don't have an attack order, though. I should have given an attack order. That was a big mistake. And now these horse archers are wrecking my MLG Freeman from behind. And then my Spear Brothers are getting pretty wrecked up, too. It's unfortunate. But I have lured his cavalry out here in front of my swordsmen, who do have precursor jabs that do have a bonus versus cavalry. So the Cappadocian Cav are going to get a bunch of my slingers here, some of them, but they are going to get wrecked. Now this is good and bad. My javelins could also be used against his pikes or his chariots. Over here my opponent runs kind of a pointless Cappadocian Cav attack straight into some fierce swords. He only gets 7 kills and my men killed 8 of his cavalry, so not really worth it for him. My slingers, though, as you can see, are being beaten down by his eastern slingers for almost no loss because they're just better. Celtic slingers are terrible. They're not good for much. So, but the only other thing I could have brought were 500 talent Gallic hunters, which I do like the Gallic hunter. I would like to have them right now, but it's too expensive. And I think that going up against Pontus, I did make a mistake in the sense that I brought 2 Oathsworn. It's probably overkill. I mean, Pontus really can't field anything that would even beat the Mighty Swords in a head-on fight, so probably shouldn't have spent so much money on Oathsword, and then I could have upgraded my missiles to be a lot more deadly. So I think that was a mistake on my part. But right now you can see my opponent. Let's just take a look at the overhead. Look at the disorganization here. This disorganization is now, basically it's chaos. My opponent has split up his troops all over the place, and now he has to micro out here. He's going to have to micro over here. He's going to have to micro over here. He's got all of his horse archers back here. So now his focus is going to go in multiple directions. And you're going to see me come up here. His pikes were there to defend. I'm just going to split around his pikes, and now his slingers over here are going to die. But you can see, like I said, my opponent is microing here, 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 out here in the back. He's got all these places he has to micromanage while I'm focusing on one particular area here. And his pikemen do slow my cavalry down pretty bad for a moment, which is annoying, and they actually kill quite a few of them. But my Mighty Horse do get through, and his slingers are going to die. This is very important for me. Those eastern slingers have a lot of javelins left. Oh, he has an eastern archer here, too. I didn't realize that. He's got 1 eastern archer, it looks like, which is going to do a lot of damage to my cav, unfortunately. But now the speed of my Mighty Horse is going to allow them to have killed those slingers and flee from his Cappadocian Cav and pikes. So the lighter horse here actually playing a pretty pivotal role so far in the battle. Like, well, Attila was recently patched where light horse is a lot better, but it's still not like Rome 2 here, where light horse played a very distinct role. And my medium cavalry here, obviously, well, it was getting away from the Cappadocians. There was kind of another hang up here that shouldn't have happened, but it did. It's more of a glitch than anything else. So the speed definitely allows me to get away. So I get away. And then this unit here is back here still distracting different Cappadocian Cav units who are now pretty winded. His horse archers took some damage from my slingers and other units, though they still have a lot of ammo and still a lot of killing potential. These guys killed a lot of spears, as you can see here, 62, 35, 36. Those are mostly spear kills. They killed my spear brothers and my Nervii MLG men. So yeah, the MLG freemen though, they don't have to worry too much about having died to the horse archers, because the horse archers probably spent more ammo than it was worth killing them, which is why Nervii MLG men are totally MLG right now. You almost can't lose with them. Even when they die, they usually help you win. So I do hate to say it because I like them so much, but they definitely need to lose their precursor javelins. They're way too good for 210 talents. Or if you want to keep them as is, you can increase their price a little, but I still think it'd be best just to get rid of the javelins. Now check this out. Kill a few Cappadocians with these spear brothers. And again, those precursor javelins coming in handy. We're going to chase them off, and now that his Cappadocians are fleeing, my faster mighty horse can turn and give chase, and as long as he's fleeing, he's going to be losing horses needlessly in combat. So the mighty horse were the hunted, and now they're hunting, and they are killing a lot of Cappadocian cavalry here. So I managed to rack up a pretty fair number of kills in the Cappadocians, 5 or 6, which is nice for Mighty Horse, because otherwise getting 5 or 6 kills in Cappadocians is difficult at best, because they are very sturdy cav. Still very worried about the scythe chariots. He still very much has skirmishers in play. I'm outside of his range at the moment, though, which is good. I still have some skirmishers. They're not going to do much, but it's good because he continually seems to put focus on them. Over here, he just about to catch my scout riders by the line, but I switched them off of the skirmish mode. So again, now this Cappadocian cav is absolutely exhausted from giving chase to my men. And at this point, my opponent is left with, let's see, he's got this Cappadocian cav that's in good shape, and then he's got the other one that's back here chasing. So that's all the Cappadocian cavalry that he's... No, he's got this one here. It was hidden in the horse archers. So he's still got a significant cavalry threat. This is a bit of a mistake. I get a little too close to his horse archers, but what I'm going to do here is pop the frenzied charge because it gives me a little bit of boosted charge speed, and I'm going to use it to catch his horse archers. And so now his horse archers are firing into each other, and my mighty horse gets in here and actually racks up a lot of kills on his horse archers, and this is great. Every horse archer I kill here, that means ammo that it does not get to expend on me in late game. So this is a very fair trade, I feel like, for my mighty horse. Getting in here and killing that many horse archers, causing them to waver. Like I said, definitely a good deal for me. And then he's also fired into his own Cappadocians with several volleys from the horse archers, which again just worked to my favor. My opponent now starts to turtle up a little bit, looking to maybe reorganize and put on a more defensive front. And so what I have in mind is I'm going to wheel my infantry forward, unload my javelins into his pikes. I want to try and disintegrate his pike line. And then maybe just pressure his skirmishers a little bit. So see how I have these regrouped Germanic scouts back here? Just putting pressure on his skirmishers because most of his guys, I've noticed, are still in skirmish mode. Look at my Celtic slingers. They can't even kill pikemen head on. They're pathetic. So yeah, I'm using this cavalry to sacrifice. I'm trying to use the skirmish mode to force his guys in front of the pikes so that I could have hit them, but my opponent doesn't let this happen. So this is where I'm going to start enacting my plan of putting pressure on his pikes. I can hit them with precursors and other stuff, though that is a risk because I need precursors potentially to kill the scythe chariot. My best bet of killing the scythe chariot is to see if I can slow it down for just even a moment with the mighty horse, which is risky, and then finish it with the spear brother using the they're running like really fast, using the cavalry counter tactics ability that would suddenly give them a lot more damage versus cavalry. So I bring the push, my opponent falls back because again his army isn't defensive, and you can see that again he's kind of disorganized here. He's going to have to do a lot of reforming. So I'm going to keep the push coming. I'm just going to push. It might give me an opportunity. So yeah, you're going to see me continue to push up with my men. Again, the pikes cannot be offensive. They can only be defensive. And he's only got 4 of them at this point. Yeah, he's only got 4 that I can see. So he's going to be at a big disadvantage because I have 6 infantry that can face his pikes. And his cavalry technically has an advantage on me, but I can always peel off an infantry to support that cavalry fight. His chariots are really the main threat left on the battlefield. These guys can wreck my whole sword line. And to be quite honest, if I were him, I would just beeline it straight in here into into my fierce swords and just wreck up this line, and it's probably a game over for me at that point. Because if you look at it right now, these mighty horse are too far away to react. This one would be chasing it in, so it would never catch it, and then the Spear Brothers would have had to chase it in as well. But now I'm in a little better position to support its flank. So check it out. Here comes the moment of truth. So let's put it in pause. So what's going to happen here, folks? This will be like a fun guessing game. Scythe Chariot activated. So is the Scythe Chariot going to cut in to its right, wreck my infantry line? Or is it going to charge my Spear Brothers and try and take them out before getting my infantry line? Or will he go after my mighty horse? So this is the decisive moment in the game. Is this going to be the moment at which it's a Pontic victory, or the moment in which the Nervii gain the advantage? Ooh, the tension is palpable. Okay, I'll quit being stupid. Let's watch. So, the Scythe Chariots come in. They target my mighty horse. Not a good target, because it's not even a really viable threat to him. They pass my Spear Brothers. And Precursor Javelin. Ooh, flank shots. And the Scythe Chariots immediately drop like 3 chariots. I pop Cavalry Counter Tactics. The Scythe Chariots are momentarily stuck. And then my Counter Cavalry Tactics Spear Brothers get in here. And it is going to be a pretty quick business of delivering the killing blows to these Scythe Chariots. They do try to flee, but it's too late. They've taken too much damage, and they rout. And now the enemy general is off the field, so the decisive moment goes to the Nervii. At this point, I now have the battle pretty much under control. Now you can see his Cappadocians had gotten in and started wrecking my cav. I chased him off with infantry, which forced him to pull out and take heavy losses. His horse archers go on a gamble against my Celtic slingers, which weren't hurting anything anyway. So at this point, I've got cavalry left. My opponent's cavalry is heavily damaged. It's still there, though. I'm still in wedge formation. I tried to use the wedge formation to see if it'd slow down the Scythe Chariots. It kind of seemed... I don't know if it worked or not. Anyway, I'm going to go on a blitz into his slingers because they were going to kill my horsemen anyway, so I'm losing mobility. I've only got 1 cav unit left. My opponent still has these Cappadocians, but now his infantry, the only way they can survive is to pike box. They can't really do a great pike box because my precursors did wreck several of the units of pikes, and this one is actually now isolated. So I'm going to go hit this isolated pike, and so now the best he could do potentially is a pike triangle. But you can see I'm moving around his flank to try and prevent him from boxing up. Now, if he would have moved quickly here, he definitely could have presented a pike triangle to me right here, like this. So he could have done a pike triangle, which would have been a very big problem for me because I would have to try and surround it, and then I would be getting shot at by Eastern archers and all that other kind of stuff, and I'm pretty sure I'm out of infantry precursors. But over here, this pikeman, like I said, gets surrounded. It's in and out of formation. His Cappadocian cavalry is still in this combat when it really probably wants to be away from here, and it's losing all its men, and then I can just swing this fierce sword around, but my Oathsworn's out on the flanks of this pike unit is going to wrap it up. They're going to die. And my opponent's failure to pike triangle out here is going to cost him because now I'm behind him and he can't do it. So any hopes of pike boxing to save him are over. So again, that very critical moment in the battle was the Scythe Chariot charge. He threw him at my mighty horse. He should not have thrown the Scythe Chariots at my mighty horse. The other thing that my opponent, in my mind, did very wrong here, because I honestly and truly feel like his army was totally capable of destroying me. He should have sat back and used his missiles and forced me to attack. When I came to attack, rush me with... I mean, what am I going to do with my mighty horse, really? Not much against your Cappadocian cav. Bring your Cappadocian cav in, charge my fierce swords, bring your chariots into my Oathsworn, hammer all at once because your missiles are forcing me to attack. Just bring the house. And I would have died very quickly. My men do not have, like, even the Oathsworn would have died to a missile storm of all those horse archers and everything. A little bit of patience and missile play from my opponent, and this would have been a very different story. Like I said, my shirtless Nervii would have had no real chance against all the missile storm that the Pontic troops could have poured on me. So this is pretty lucky for me. He does do a back-to-back pike box without sides here, but it's not going to work. His men are already losing morale, and I'm going to be able to get into his flanks as well. And then my Oathsworn are just waiting for him to try and turn around. Otherwise, his guys are just going to sit here and get absolutely wrecked in this pike fight, or in this sword fight. Pikes in a sword fight, you can imagine that does not go well for him. watch them all back here getting beat down. That one pikeman's wailing on one of my guys, but didn't finish the job. But yeah, the Fierce Sword's definitely a strong unit on the charge, but obviously bringing pikemen does make it hard to get a good charge. But that doesn't mean that they can't still aid in a cavalry fight where necessary. It'd be used for outflanking and everything else. So again, you can just see that, like I said, what I feel like should have been a victory for the Pontic troops turned into a victory for my Nervii forces. Very, very fortunate victory for me. Very fun game. It was a little bit different than just your typical game in my mind. My opponent killed more men than I did. If you take a look at it, he's got 1,164 kills. I deployed 300 more men than he did. So this was kind of well, it says it's a Pyrrhic victory, and it was, because a lot of my men, well, I mean, I had a lot of men left, but it's mainly just because I deployed more than him. The Scythe Chariot was really a potential weapon of mass destruction in his hands, and my opponent just misused it. So again, what I would have done if I were him is place all 4 of these Cappadocian cavalry right behind this line of skirmishers. The pikes weren't even really necessary in this battle. He could have just spent more money on something more useful, like sword infantry or something else, and he could have just had them hold back. And then he could have come up, started peppering my men with this. Well, if I chase him with my cav, his Cappadocians will crush him. And my Germanic scout riders could potentially get around him and damage a lot of these guys, but they would probably flee in the face of that many skirmishers. And again, you got a Scythe Chariot that could be hanging around too. Force me to attack. When I attack, the Cappadocian cav are not shock cav, but charging into an unbraced Fierce Sword would do heck a lot of damage, and then a Scythe Chariot crashing through the front of an Oath Swarm would be absolute destruction. So I definitely feel like he had the tools here. He needed to just be more patient. As you can see, his skirmishers were getting kills. His horse archers even got quite a few kills, all things considered. They could have done better. Some of them got caught by my mighty horse, but again, you can see that it's just the infantry line had nothing. And the fact that he didn't end up getting to use his Cappadocian cav where he needed to ends up giving them nothing, and that's really what handed me the win. My Oathsworn general tanked out a lot of Cappadocians and some pikemen. And then you can see my mighty horse didn't get a lot of kills, but they got some kills, and it was important. My swordsmen were really allowed to get more kills than they should have in this game. And this spear brother here is really, it did not have a chevron going into this fight. It gained one because of killing the Scythe Chariot. So even though it says 14 kills, that was quite a few chariots, and that's why it gained a chevron. So MVP right there to the Spear Brothers for taking down the chariot. Very fortunate for me, like I said, because my opponent technically had the tools in my mind to deny me a victory here. Hope you all enjoyed that. HeirofCarthage signing off for now. I will see you all back soon on the battlefields of Total War.